In this video, we're going to look at present simple tense, and we're going to do it using lots of different popular verbs that you're likely to encounter on an everyday basis. Now, for those of you who have been following this series, we did a present tense already in one of the first or second, third videos when we looked at the verb to be. So let's review that very quickly. I am, you are, he, she, it is, and we, you, they are. Now we're going to expand that to all popular, many types of different verbs that we're likely to use. And we're going to do that by showing you common structures with positive sentences, negative sentences, questions. We're going to identify a few adverbs that often go with present tense verbs, and then some facts. Are you ready? Let's begin. The pattern for the present tense is easy to remember. So let's just practice it. I, you, we, and they, plus the verb. That's it. For example, I work in London. They work in London. We work in London. The only thing that changes is when we use he, she, or it, that third person singular. We add the verb plus an S. Easy. She works in London. He works in Belfast. All right, let's turn to some other examples so we can reinforce these basic ideas. We go to the theater every Friday. They speak Spanish very well. I love to cook at the weekend. And I cook at the weekend. But, and here's the third person singular, she speaks French. He smokes cigars. You shouldn't smoke. The bank opens at 9 o'clock. Now, let's turn to the use of present simple in questions. So let's look at a few examples, then we'll form the rule. Do you play the piano? Where do you live? Does Jack play football? Where does he come from? So in these examples, we use do plus I or you and the plurals. Do I, do you, do they, or does with he, she, and it. So let's practice a few more. Do Rita and Angela live in Manchester? Where do they work? Does she live at home? Does he have a job? We use do and does with question words like where, what, and when. Where do Irene and Peter live? What does Maria do? When does Rita usually get up? Remember, does is with third person singular, he or she or Rita and Maria. But questions with who often don't use do or does, so consider these. Who lives in London? Who plays football at the weekend? Who works in Liverpool City Hospital? Here are some useful questions, many of which we've already covered in earlier videos, but let's review a bit. Where do you come from? Do you come from London? Where do you live? Do you live in New York? What do you do? Do you like tennis? Do you know French, the language? Now let's consider present simple in the negative. We use do and does to make negatives with the present simple. We use doesn't for the third person singular, he, she, it, and don't for the others. Look at these examples. I like tennis, but I don't like football. I don't live in London now. I don't play the piano, but I do play the guitar. They don't work at the weekend. John doesn't live in Manchester. Alexandra doesn't drive to work. She goes by bus. We also use present simple to talk about something that is true in the present. Fairly obvious, but let's go through it. I'm 19 years old. Well, I'm not, but in that sentence, somebody is. I'm a student. He lives in London. I don't, but he does. Something that regularly happens is also expressed in the present tense. I play football every weekend. We also use present tense for something that is always true. The human body contains 206 bones. Did you know that children's bodies contain about 300? It's quite a lot. Light travels at almost 300,000 kilometers per second. And we often use adverbs of frequency, like sometimes, always, never, with the present simple. I sometimes go to the cinema. She never plays football. If you have more questions or need further practice on this very important subject, look below in the caption. I have given you links to free online practice that you can do. Thank you, and see you next Monday.